I ended up coming to Canada in 2004. I came to Canada with a lot of drive, with a lot of passion to succeed. I used to live in Jos, Nigeria, and that's one of the coldest regions in the country, but still nothing had prepared me for the winter and what I was about to experience. You have to tough it out. You have to be resilient, mentally, emotionally. One of the biggest challenges was navigating my identity. There is this joy, there's this pride that I have in being an African woman. I take that with me wherever I go to. I had to be resourceful, I had to be focused. My definition of success is just having wellness that leads to fulfillment. I believe that it's important to be patient with your own process. My name is Jamila Kyari, and I help people tell their stories. Okay, so picture this. 20 years ago, I was in Nigeria. I was a student. I had just finished my high school education. In fact, I just finished my secondary school examinations. And, you know, everybody had that dream as a student then of having a higher education. And so for me, it involved coming to Canada. So I studied the pathways and career and universities and colleges. And I knew that I wanted to come to Canada to pursue my education as a student. So I ended up coming to Canada in 2004. So many years ago. I was a teenager. It is a long time, but it was great. It was a great experience. I came as a student, haven't gotten my study visa. I went to college. Eventually, I worked, and then I went back to the university again to get a degree. So I went, you know, there was a series of steps that I took along that path, and I got my education. And today, I'm a trained professional in public relations, communications, and marketing. I have experience, over 10 years of experience, and I'm an expert in helping people tell their stories so that they can be visible and also so that they can connect with other people and also create an impact. By day, I'm a communications manager. I work for an environmental education organization. And also, I'm an entrepreneur, actually. And, you know, I still use my communication skills that I use by day in entrepreneurship to help African brands tell their stories, connect with audiences, and create an impact. So I am also, you know, parlaying those skills that I have in a different way because I want to help the community and I want to give back in a big way. Yeah, I actually didn't know where life would take me, right? Because as a student, what you are thinking is you just want to get your education at first. You want to get into that country, your destination. And then when you get there, you know, things hopefully will fall into place along your journey. So at first, I wasn't thinking that, oh, once I get to Canada, I'm never going to leave. I was just like, you know what, I want to get my education. I want to build a future for myself. I want to build a career. And, you know, one of the things I took into consideration was, okay, so first of all, I was an A student in English. So I've always loved English. I've always loved writing. And it just so happened that along my research for career paths, I noticed that if you do English and you want to do something profitable in that, you know, line of study, you can get into public relations, communications. And it so happens if you can do both, you can also work in marketing if you understand how business works as well. So, you know, that was what informed my decision when I you know, wanted to come to Canada, and then applied for study visa, identified schools. You know, the process went smoothly, and then I got here. Thankfully, I did have a family member here, so it made things a little bit, you know, softer landing for me. But all in all, I did still face challenges that everybody faces as a student at that time, long time ago, coming here. But it was I say it was kind of smooth sailing for me in that sense that I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the career path that I was going to follow. I capitalized on my strengths So it was what I was good at that I decided to go and study, because I truly believe that your gift will make room for you. So I wasn't following where the money was, sort of to speak, as it was more of my passion and where I knew that I would be more likely to excel. Well, it so happened, like I said, I had a family member in Canada, and it just so happened that I was going to come here. I was actually thinking of, my mom at the time, my late mom, wanted me to go to UK, but it just so happened that because I had someone here, it made more sense just to come here. I used to live in Jos, Nigeria, and that's one of the coldest regions in the country, but still nothing had prepared me for the winter and what I was about to experience, actually. So it was actually really, really cold, but it's just one of those things that you just have to tough it out. And it so happens that my secondary school was a military school, like a military girls' school. So there was this culture of like, you have to tough it out, you have to be resilient mentally, emotionally, physically, and all of that. So once I got here, you know, navigating winter was tough, you know, the wind chill, frostbite, you know, trying to commute in the winter, catch the bus and all that was very difficult, but it was just something that I knew that I had to tough it out, and that if anybody else could do it, as there were a lot of people in Canada still living their lives, I knew that I could do it as well. I would say one of the biggest challenges was navigating my identity. So, you know, back then in Nigeria, you know, I was pretty self-aware as a person, but I never had this knowledge or awareness that I was a minority until I got to Canada, right? So, you know, being here and obviously being maybe the only Black person in the room in certain spheres, like, you know, be it in the classroom, at college or university, or at a social gathering, or at a work meeting, you know, it comes with that feeling of, oh, I'm the only one, there's nobody like me. But in every situation, I try to show up. I try to be confident as I'm showing up, and also to know where I'm coming from, you know, because you cannot be successfully Canadian without knowing where you first came from. And so there is this joy, there's this pride that I have in being an African woman. I take that with me wherever I go to. And yes, maybe I might be the only person in the room, but I'm coming with a lot of stories. I'm coming with a lot of, you know, heritage, cultural heritage, a lot of positivity. It's not a bad thing to be the only person in the room, but there's just something about it that makes us feel uncomfortable. But if you break it down, you have to look at it like, why am I uncomfortable? Or could this be an opportunity for me to shine, right? The other thing was building social capital. I also believe that human beings are relational beings, and we need people. Nobody's an island. So one of the challenges was building relationships that last. You know, people say that Canada is a bit lonely, it's hard to find friends, but it is only so to the extent that you allow it. And I believe that you can find your people, tap into your community wherever you are. This could look like joining an association, joining a faith community, volunteering in your neighborhood, or going out to events. And I feel like once you open yourself up by being friendly, you will find friends. So I've actually always been a driven person. So I came to Canada with a lot of drive, with a lot of passion to succeed. And so I think at that time I was, you know, a lot more driven than I am. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed, you know, but at that time I was like, I'm on a mission, I want to be successful, and I'm going to do what I can to get there to my destination, right? So even though it was, you know, culture shock, you know, me being the only Black person in my class at that time, maybe not having enough friends and around me, it didn't deter me at all, because I knew that there were people who were making it. And I always believed that, you know, that they don't have two heads or more the heads than I do, or they're not smarter than I am. I'm also up to the task. So I just, with that in mind, it gave me a kind of motivation. It gave me a kind of like, you know, you can do it. And that inspiration to keep going. Even at my lowest moments, I pick up myself. There are times when you're struggling, maybe financially, or I know at that time I was going to campus at that time from home, and jobs were a big thing for students, trying to get a job, and at that time even we couldn't even walk off campus. That was how the immigration rules were. So it was a bit tough, because if you couldn't find a job on the campus, there was no other alternative. But I was just so determined that I'm going to make it work, I'm going to make it happen. I had to be resourceful, I had to be focused, and that fortunately took me through. So a lot of people know that I'm into fashion, specifically African fashion, and that I promote African fashion brands. But at the core of it, I think I'm just a storyteller. I am just telling stories about, the African people, our vibrancy, our energy, and the way that we dress, and the way that we adorn ourselves, the way that we groom ourselves. We know we are a special kind of people. We don't joke with how we look. When we are going to weddings, when we are going to church, when we're going to any gathering, we have to look top notch. And at the backbone of what I do is just, sharing those stories here in Canada, because this is where I find myself, and, encouraging people to tap into those stories and become part of it. So I like to say that I'm inspiring people to live vibrantly, because, the African fashion, like what I'm wearing right now, is very vibrant, it's very colorful, it's sharp. You may be looking at it and be wondering that, if someone is not familiar with it, you may not even know that it's African fashion, right? But the fact that it's vibrant, it's full of energy, it uplifts the mood and makes you want to smile. That is actually, what I'm trying to share with others. The fashion business started out as a blog, and I started that in March of 2017. So it's roughly maybe a little over 5 years right now. And when I started, I was just building the audience, building the awareness. And not until about a year ago, so I enrolled for an entrepreneurship program for Black entrepreneurs, so that I could fine-tune what I was offering, make sure that the business idea is validated and there's a market for it. And so I'm in that process right now, just about wrapping up. And then I will be launching to the public and, taking it one step further. So it wasn't like I wasn't already doing the work. It's just that I'm taking it to the next level right now.
So which program?
It's actually the Lift Off program. I think it's very important to be patient with your process. It's like you want to go from Toronto to Ottawa. It's going to take you approximately 5 to 6 hours, depending on how fast you're driving. It might even take 7 hours if you're slow on the road, but you know that you have to take the 401. Or you have to there are a bunch of different destinations, routes, but you're going to get to your destination at the end of the day. No matter if you're going fast or you're going slow, right? So I believe that it's important to be patient with your own process, because everybody is different. Everybody's journey, pathway, how they came to Canada, there's no two people that are going to have the same exact story. So wherever you find yourself, I believe it's important to be patient. Don't rush the process if it's not, possible. It can take a toll on your mental health, but it is only when you are striving for something, you're striving for something, and it's like you're in the car, you're trying to get to Ottawa, and you're like, I want to get there, but you have to stay on the road. You have to, that duration of time has to lapse before you actually get there. So there's no point in the middle saying, I'm not getting there. You will get there. Just calm down. Yes, so that's the advice I would give. And also, have a plan. That I'm saying to be patient with your process doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a plan in place, right? Have a plan, pursue the plan, make sure that it's going to take you there. Like, you know, so if you're going to Ottawa, you have to make sure you have a car or you have a means of transportation, and that means of transportation is legit, or the car is in good condition, it has been serviced and everything. So have a plan and make sure that plan is guaranteed to work. You may not even know the outcome, but at least you know that it's going to get you somewhere in terms of progress. And then follow that plan through. Be patient with it, and that will get you to where you need to go. Yeah, for that, I would say, you know, that's why the importance of having a plan is very important. Like, if you come in, obviously, like, you're coming in, you're starting from scratch. You're not going to be at the same level you were when you were in Nigeria straight off the bat. You would have to start from somewhere, and it's a journey, right? And so when you have a plan in place, it might be rocky at first, but for example, let me make a more relevant example with applying for jobs. For example, you know, there's a process that happens when you want to get a job. You have to put out your resume, you have to build your, you know, first of all, you have to even build a resume so that the profile matches what is acceptable in the country. And then, you know, you have to look for jobs that are relevant to your skills, that closely match. Sometimes there might be some upgrading that you need to do. Once you have a plan in place and you have those steps, and you identify these are the steps that I currently need as an individual based on where I am right now to get to where I am. It might take me 2 months, it might take me 3 months, it might take me 4 months, but if you stick to that plan, you eventually get to where you need to go. So I feel like, you know, there's a lot of like misconceptions about life in Canada. When you come here, it's going to be rosy, everything is just going to be, you know, wonderful, and there's no suffering, like, you know, but you have to start from somewhere. There's suffering all over the world, right? But, you know, start from where you are, have a plan, walk towards that plan, right? Make sure you're checking your T's and your I, you're dotting your I's, you're doing everything that you need to do, and you will eventually hit those goals. That's a good question. It can be overwhelming, right? Not knowing how to navigate a new environment, or to navigate the systems and structures in a new country. But that's where research comes in. Homework. You have to research how other people have done it. That's why I love this series, because we're listening to other people's stories and we're understanding how others have done it before us, that came before us, so that we can also do the same. So for me, I did a lot of research. Fortunately for me, as a student, part of my program had like a co-op kind of program where I was able to volunteer my skills at a particular workplace, and that gave me some experience that I could put on my resume. Sometimes there are other equivalents like bridging programs for certain career paths. So if you can find a co-op program or a bridging program, that's important. If there's none, try to volunteer, get that experience, put it on your resume. Then educate yourself about interviewing techniques, brush up on your communication skills so that you know how to present yourself. Everything is about packaging and marketing, and you have to be able to sell yourself. Sometimes education is not enough. People have to know what skills you are bringing to the table, and you have to show them that you're the right fit for the job. So knowing that, it really, really helps me as a person. But I would say research and preparation equals success. Wow, have I settled? I think I have settled in the sense that I'm no longer that newcomer, that student that just came in. I have more knowledge than others in terms of how things are working here, and you know how the system is, the geography and all. So I can navigate a lot more better. I'm a little bit more swift in my thinking than most newcomers, but at the same time I miss a lot of my family and my friends in Nigeria, and sometimes I wish I could either bring them here, or I could go back, or you know, and visit more often than I usually do. So it's a little bit of like yes and no, but to an extent I'm settled. And also I want to also mention that I'm a part of, a community. So I'm tapped into the Nigerian community where I live. I go to their events. I have friends. I know what they're up to, and that relieves some of the loneliness that I might feel because of not being originally from Canada. Yeah. Wow. One of the things I miss about my home country is just maybe the clothing. That's number one, which is obvious. And then the people, because there's no country without the people, right? And it's the people that make up the culture and all of that. So I really miss family and friends. And then I would say for my perfect way to relax, okay, picture this. It's in the morning, maybe some minutes before the sunrise. There's soft music playing in the room. Maybe because it's a little bit dark, there's a candle lit, and there I am sitting with my cup of tea and a very good book, which I might be journaling in or I might just be reading. So that is my perfect way to relax. But I would say in the summer, I like to move. So I like walking. So walking is one of my biggest hobbies in the summer. And that keeps me moving, that keeps me active. It clears my brain. So we're talking about mental health earlier. Taking walks is important, not just for the fitness, but also just for the fact that you want to just clear your mind, clear your thoughts. Maybe you're processing a particular decision you want to make that will help you, give you more clarity. And then you take a walk, come back home, and you feel refreshed. Yeah. My definition of success is very different, right? So I believe that success is not necessarily monetary. However, materialism is not a bad thing, only when it turns to greed, right? So my definition of success is just having wellness that leads to fulfillment, having the strength, health, and vitality to be able to do what I do the most, to do what I love, which is helping people tell their stories, impacting them in a positive way. And so, there's nothing that I would say that, this is what I would have told myself earlier so that I can arrive. That kind of thing. Everybody's path is different, and I've evolved over time as well in my thinking and in my own, the evolution of my own success. I think one thing that maybe I would have said is just, become more technologically inclined, because over here technology is ruling the world. Digital technology, the tech sector. So I didn't really, growing up then in being in secondary school, I wasn't really exposed to computers per se. I was exposed a little bit. We used to go to cyber cafe and all that, but it was for leisure. I didn't really study how it worked. But what helped me was because I went to school here, I was able to learn fast and adapt and pick it up quickly. There's a lot of people who come in and they're not able to move at the fast pace of the way things are changing here technologically. So if you have the opportunity to study how it works and get those trainings before you come in, I would highly recommend that. And if you're going to study in a particular career path that over here is ruled by technology, by all means, get the certifications if you can. Study towards getting them, start the process so that when you come here, it might be a little bit easier.